Okay. A good evening to you, if anyone's watching, either before or after the broadcast. Um, Hold on, I'm listening to myself. All right. Okay, so we are on the B deck near the entrance. So we're on the starboard side here. The grand staircase, both grand staircases face aft. And so, yeah, that means we're on the starboard side. And first place I'm going to visit is one of the parlor suites. There are four parlor suites on Titanic, and the two on B deck have private promenades. So let's take a look at the starboard one, and now you can see a kind of room that the Cal Hockley and Rose, boy, I can never remember her last name. DeWitt something, something like that. Anyway, that Cal and Rose stayed in were these B deck parlor suites because in one scene you can see them having breakfast, I guess, on their private promenade, which is here. And so you may wonder whose room this was in real life, and this was the room of Charlotte Cardezza and her son and their staff. She was the daughter of a textile magnate and was returning from an African safari with her son. And yeah, this is the sitting room of a parlor suite. You can see the only form of air conditioning on Titanic were these electric fans. Mostly you needed heaters, like the one over here. Looks like a fireplace, but again, as I mentioned on Sunday, there was only one real fireplace on Titanic in the first class smoking room. On A deck, all the other fireplaces you see are actually electric heaters. And a clock on the mantelpiece. All these clocks are actually bolted down, and one of those clocks is still sitting on a mantelpiece on the wreck. Though I don't know what room that's for. But you can see this is a really extravagant room, probably better than any room any of us have ever stayed in on a cruise ship. Rather small though. Most of the rooms, even the first class rooms, are pretty small, but that's okay because this is a suite. So here's the sleeping quarters. So very, very fancy. This was probably the wardrobe. And running water. And these very lovely beds here. The Cardezzas and their staff all survived. They were able to board lifeboats and went on with their lives after Titanic. So on the B deck, the other parlor suite, we're on the port side. Let me make sure I have that right. Um, yeah, let's visit here. So that was on the starboard side. Yeah, Charlotte Cardezza. So let's see. Is this modeled? I thought they were modeled. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to go out here, I think. Yes. So this is the private promenade of the starboard side. And the cabin is not modeled, just the private promenade. But the reason this is special is because this was the cabin, the parlor suite of J. Bruce Ismay, the managing director of White Star Line. Often villainized, especially at the time of the sinking, and also in the James Cameron movie. If you research him, you might find that this villainization is very unjustified. He spent most of the time actually helping passengers into the lifeboats. He stayed on Titanic near to the end, and in the Cameron movie, you can see him sort of stealing onto a lifeboat, and then First Officer Murdoch looked at him in disbelief, and for a while, and then lowered the lifeboat away, with Ismay looking rather embarrassed. That is not at all what happened. There were many witnesses because there was a lifeboat leaving. It was almost full, but there was still, I guess, a couple empty seats. And Murdoch was calling out for people to fill those empty seats, but there's really no one else around on the starboard side. Most people were on the port side. And the only person there was Bruce Ismay. And as I mentioned Sunday night, Murdoch had no problems letting men onto lifeboats if there were no women around, and so he let Ismay onto that lifeboat. And that was it. That's how Ismay survived. Not by dressing up as a woman, which was one of the stories that was going around at the time. One of the nasty stories. Uh, at the time, Bruce Ismay was in sort of a PR war with William Randolph Hearst, and Hearst was definitely one of the innovators of yellow journalism. It's pretty much been established. And so Hearst just completely wrecked Ismay. Ismay went on actually to resign from White Star, and he actually joined a group that was doing compensation for Titanic victims, and he was quite generous in compensating Titanic victims. So really, obviously none of us knew the man, but from what I can tell, he was really quite a decent man. Let's see, B-58. Let's see what is here. Titanic B-58. And this was the room of Quig Edmund Baxter. I actually don't know who that is. Oh, he had the next door cabin, so this is his mother's cabin. Uh, Decorated in Louis the 16th style. So let's take a look inside. And you can see it's very small, but quite beautiful. Would not mind a cabin like this. It looks like it didn't have its own private bathroom. Let me see here. B-58. Oh, actually, it did have a bathroom. Okay, but it's not modeled here. It's by the entrance. So this is a wardrobe here. Um, yeah, and the bathroom was through here. So, all right. So I don't know how many more cabins are modeled here. Sorry if I'm making you sick. Uh, yeah, I don't think so. Not on this side anyway. And much of B deck is not modeled, actually. Even the whole forward section is not modeled. But that will be coming. Alright, so let's go in here to the aft grand staircase. This was on B deck. This was the restaurant reception room. And I heard from the developers they're planning on putting a grand piano here. They don't know what was really here, but they thought it'd be kind of nice. Um, yeah. Did I mention? I don't remember. I don't think I mentioned the floor. You would think, in a first class area, they would use marble tile for the floors. This is actually all linoleum, an early form, because it was light, and people had learned the hard way uh, how bad a top-heavy ship is, and so linoleum was light. It was hard wearing, easy to clean. So that's what you wanted. Let's go in here. This is the Cafe Parisien. Coat hooks. And yeah, so this is a la carte restaurant. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but I wonder if there's any. What does it say, Mr. Gaddy? Okay. Are there any familiar names here? Maybe the Cal Hockley, right in the middle there. Margaret Brown, the unsinkable Molly Brown. I wonder. Well, obviously Cal. Oh yeah, Rose DeWitt Bucater, Bucketer. Yeah, interesting. I don't see any other names here, but that's pretty cool. They have Cal Hockley and Rose and her mother here, and Molly Brown. Was a very, very popular restaurant for first class passengers. A little more casual. I guess this is a bar. And, well, obviously this one doesn't have tile, or, not tile, linoleum. Other rooms are carpeted. And yeah, and this area had this, or this restaurant had this area as well. So quite lovely. I think this just opens out to the sea, right? So this would never be opened while at sea. Let me see. Yeah, so I think this is pretty much all the model areas of C deck. Let's see if there's any open cabins in here. Oh, B deck. I said C deck. Also, I noticed in my Sunday broadcast, I kept swapping Olympic and Britannic around. So, oh, okay. So what is this? B81. So Titanic B81. See if there's anything special here. Oh, yeah, don't know if there's anything all that special here. So they may have just chosen this at random. Obviously, these are all first class cabins. Yeah. If the door's not open in a cabin, you're probably not going to be able to open it. Oh, it's too blurry. Okay. Uh, as first class cabins go, a little modest, but still quite lovely. Okay. Anything interesting here? Alright. Oh, another one. B63. Because sometimes they modeled cabins with famous people in them. They don't even have a name on this one. Modern Dutch style. So this would be one of the more modern looking ones. Oh yeah, oh that's a very nice chaise there. And yeah, typical for sort of a mid-range first-class cabin. Um, oh, has the attached room. Very, very nice. I feel like someone famous might have been in this part. Let me see. B57. Wonder if I can just type that in here. 50. Oops, 57. Uh, the Ryersons. Okay, I don't know who they are. All right, and we're back at one of the parlor suites, the Cardezas. Okay, well, that is pretty much all of B deck. Uh, B deck includes the foxhole. Foxhole. There is a way to get there. I haven't figured out how yet, so we may have to skip that. Hmm, don't know who that is. All right, so this is C deck. Most of the decks seem very similar. Kind of hard to tell where you are. But let's go see what's around here. All right, at least the forward part's open. So these are more first class cabins. There must be some modeled here. Okay. Nope, nothing here. Oh, kind of surprised. Oh, here's one. No cabin number. Won't be able to look that up. So this would look out. Let's see, what are we looking at? Oh, the forward well deck and the foxhole above there. Let's see. So foxhole spelled forecastle and sometimes pronounced as forecastle, but it's really foxhole. Just a old mariner's term. White Star Line provided a safe in the office of the purser, and we'll see that actually. Yeah, so one of the more modest first class cabins. Does this even have a sink? No, it doesn't even have a sink. And the prices of first class cabins varied pretty wildly. And some first class cabins were actually switchable with second class, so it would have been one of the less impressive first class cabins, but one of the more impressive second class. Okay. So I think there is more to see on the. Oh, I don't know what that is. On the C deck than B deck. Not a lot on B deck. Oh, yeah, yeah. So this is the telephone switchboard. So there'd be an operator here. During daytime hours, I think I heard. And so for first class room to room calls, I believe, you can pick up the phone and get the attention of the operator, say which room you wanted to connect with. Oh, the labels aren't on here. And they would connect you to that room. So pretty cool. This looks like a pantry. Yeah, so probably some cold water there and some hot water there. So you could ring a button in your room, I believe, and it would show up here. And you can make a request. A steward will come see what you'd like. And you can order some tea or biscuits or something. So this is the purser's office. Actually, what's in here? Okay. And very nice office. I was sort of, after I saw this, I was trying to think of ways to make my home office look more like this. Not sure how, really. Um, be nice to have a better floor in my office, I guess. But yeah, so the pursers would handle money matters. I can hear the clock ticking. Looks like maybe some mail here. And so the purser's safe is here. So they keep cash in there. Let's see what looks like U.S. money, modern U.S. money, which is not what they would have used, but they'll probably swap that out at some point for some period money. All right. And this safe would be for passengers' use. So if you had any valuables, like I mentioned on Sunday, the rooms are not that secure. So if you had your heart of the ocean, you wouldn't keep it in your room. You'd keep it with White Star in this safe, and they give you a receipt that you'd better not lose. And this is the inquiry office. So basically, if you're on a modern cruise ship, this is the customer service office or passenger service office. Any names here? Hard to say. Nothing jumps out at me. Yeah, R. Andrew. No, not Thomas Andrews. Some letters. So pretty cool. Got a telephone there. And the office is back here. Don't know what they did. And here also you can see these fancy portholes. A lot of the first class cabins had these. Other cabins just had the usual, round porthole that hinges on one side. But these hinged in the middle, and you can hinge them either way. So you'd normally hinge them so that it would scoop air coming from the forward direction and get some fresh air in your room. So, all right. Of course, Heart of the Ocean was not a real jewel. That was bigger than the Hope Diamond. They did make a Heart of the Ocean out of a cubic zircon. Still quite valuable because it was surrounded by real diamonds around the edge. C55. Oh, this is very nice. Let me see if I can look that up. C55. Nope. All right. Did I look that up right? Let's Google it. Titanic C55. Oh, okay. Sitting room, parlor suites. Whoa, really? Wow. So this was Isidore, oh, and Ida Strauss's room. So Isidore Strauss was a co-owner of Macy's. He was, I think he and Ida were like in their 60s or 70s. And Isidore tried to put his wife, Ida, on a lifeboat, but she refused to leave the ship without Isidore. And so they made sure that their maid was, well, was safely on a lifeboat, and then they disappeared. No one knows where they went, but they definitely did not survive. And in the James Cameron movie, there's actually a very poignant scene um, that struck me because it showed Isidore and Ida Strauss lying on their bed in their cabin. It didn't really look like this. Yeah, looking scared while water rushed in. I thought that was a particularly sad scene. Yeah, so this is your private bathroom. Interesting they didn't cover the walls. That's the actual hull of the ship, even with the rivets at this level. At this level, probably the rivets were round on the outside, whereas most of the rest of the ship, the rivets were countersunk and you couldn't really see them, which was good for not only the look but also to be hydrodynamic. But they're not as strong as the round rivets. And so certain areas where they needed more strength, they they used the round rivets. Wow. Okay. Let's see. C97. Titanic C97. Okay. No one in particular. So this is one of the interior rooms. So did have a sink and running water, but no windows, of course. And my last trip on a cruise ship was a Carnival cruise, and I had an interior room with no windows, but still very nice. Yeah, so I think most of these will be the same. I'm not going to look up all of them. I'll just look up this one. 103, C103. 103. Yeah, so I don't know. And most of these look about the same. If they did in real life, I don't know. Yeah, these all look about the same. Was this a linen closet? Yeah, linen closet. Alright, yeah. Another first class room, one of the more modest ones, I suppose. You can tell it's a first class room because it has the fancy portholes. And these are probably wardrobes. And, oh, I know what this is. This is where the maids and staff of first class passengers ate, and governesses would bring the first class kids to eat here as well. There were not many first class kids. I think just six. I think five survived. And I believe, I don't know if I had the numbers right, but I think 97% of first class women survived. Looks like a pantry here. Considerably less of the first class men survived. Okay, so this would be the aft grand staircase. Oh, the barber shop. I believe this was not the only one. This needs a little more modeling out to have the barber's equipment here. And there was a report. I don't know if there's more than one, but at least one report that this barber pole was seen floating in the water after the ship went down. All right. Another cabin here. We might be into the second class cabins. I'm not sure. C-142. Cabin C-142. Oh, still first class. Okay, a little wardrobe there. So yeah, so first class cabins can get very, very modest. So it just depends what you're willing to pay. And I think the could have this wrong, but I think I read the parlor suites with private promenades were in modern US dollars about $50,000 for the trip. Oh, this is oh, I have to look at the map, the deck layout or deck plan. Let's see, B deck, C deck. Um, so this is the chief steward's cabin. I don't know why there's no lights on. And This would be the restaurant manager's cabin. This is the assistant doctor's cabin. And the one over here is the doctor's cabin and office. So if you're feeling sick or injured, you'd sit here and the doctor would talk to you. Hard to see. And maybe give you some medicines or something. I believe this is where he slept. So fairly modest, but of course, for most staff except for the officers, and certainly Captain Smith's cabin would have been quite a bit fancier. Okay, what's through here? All right, let's go through the second class enclosed promenade. Oops. Okay, more of these Scirocco fans. Right. Yeah, so no deck chairs, just benches. And where are we? C deck. Okay, so this is the elevator we saw yesterday. Okay. Places to chill, and this is the second class library. So basically like the reading and writing room. And here's some books. Yeah. Some ship stationery. What is this? Geography is a systematic study of the Earth and its features. Someone was studying here. Uh, yeah. So second class library. Oh yeah. This is probably, I don't know, maybe the number one question people ask or think it's a mistake. Why is the aft mast right in front of this door? And the answer is no one seems to know why they designed it that way. Like why didn't they offset the door or have two doors? I mean, two doors would cut into the space, but they could offset the door. But they had some reason because both Britannic and Olympic had the exact same thing. So very strange. Okay, what do we have here? The other enclosed second class promenade. Can we get through here? Yes. Okay, so this is the aft well deck. Here are the davits for cargo. And if we go up here, this is the poop deck and the third class promenade. And was very highly used. There's the maritime flag for England, I suppose. It does have the UK Union Jack on it. And this is where Rose wanted to jump off. Till Jack saved her. Okay, so this is called the docking bridge. And so when the bridge was docking, uh, officers would stand here and talk to the bridge and help them dock. There's also a third ship's wheel here. We saw the first two on Sunday. It was different. Interesting. Yeah, it still says telemotor because I don't believe this used a telemotor. This was mechanically connected to the steering mechanism. But they still had the ship's controls here to communicate with the engine room. Interesting. This probably had something to do with the steering mechanism. Maybe not. I don't know what those are. So yeah, Rose ran down those steps and over here to put an end to things. So this is the aft well deck. Um, this was seems to have been pretty filled with passengers, third class passengers, during the sinking. This and the poop deck. And there was a quartermaster who was blocking this gate, so they couldn't get out. But by about 12:30, about 50 minutes after the iceberg collision, third class passengers were allowed out to the boat deck. Some of them were guided by third class stewards, some just had to find their way. But before that happened, there were some third class passengers who climbed up onto the davit, and climbed over this fence to get to the lifeboats. Now, first and second class passengers were well familiar with the boat deck where the lifeboats were. Third class passengers were not, so it wasn't quite so easy to figure out how to get there. Um, but if they found their way in here, yeah, so this this wouldn't lead you there either. So even I would be confused how to get there. How do you get there? Hmm, that is interesting. Yeah, you'd have to go into the interior um, to get to the boat deck. It was really not clear how to get there, and if you were lucky, uh, you had a guide to get you to the boat deck. So this is all third class area. Um, so that's down to D deck. We're not going down there until tomorrow. Possibly, I might delay it because I won't get back until late tomorrow. So I might not do the tomorrow's broadcast. This is I have to look this up. I think this is the smoking room. Let me see here. Yeah, this is the third class smoking room. So yeah, some matches there, I guess. Don't see any spittoons. Oh, there's one. Gotta have spittoons in a smoking room. And the one on the starboard side is just the general enclosed room. So if it was stormy or too cold to go onto the poop deck, third class passengers would be in here or in their cabins. Yeah, and there really was a piano here. And one of the sad stories is late in the sinking, someone ran in here and found a woman playing the piano with a baby on her lap. And she was singing to her baby. And it seemed pretty clear that she had accepted their fate and were about to go down with the ship. And she was just calming the baby before that happened. So, fairly tragic story of the third class passengers. So, about 24% of third class passengers survived, I think, which included about 16% of the third class men, which was quite a bit higher than the second class men, and about 46% of the third class women survived. There was an inquiry, part of especially the American inquiry, into whether third class passengers were not allowed onto lifeboats if there's discrimination. Not many third class passengers gave testimony at these inquiries. None gave testimony at the UK inquiry. Three gave testimony at the US inquiry into the Titanic disaster. And they all said they felt no discrimination against them. Again, after 12:30, they were allowed to go anywhere they wanted, including the boat deck, to catch a lifeboat. And they said once they got to the boat deck, they had no discrimination against them to enter the lifeboats. And they said, if as a first or third class woman, if I was standing in front of a first class woman to get onto the lifeboats, then I got into the lifeboats first. The crew had no issues with that. Um, so I'm going to give one try at trying to get to the forward well deck, but I really don't think I can figure out how to do that. If I can figure it out, I might visit it later. That's all for crew, not for passengers. And we're back in the Cafe Parisien. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. It seemed to be. It looked like there's a way to do it from a promenade, but I've tried and I can't figure it out. Um, okay, so here we are back at the grand staircase, forward grand staircase, and we'll end the tour of B and C decks here. This is C deck, right? Oh, B deck, sorry. Uh, well, we'll end it at the C deck grand staircase. That's where the purser's office is. And hope you enjoyed this tour of B and C deck. And I'll probably do another broadcast on Thursday, probably of the D and E decks. I'll take a look at the deck maps, see if there's anything of particular interest there. I think E deck has something pretty interesting, but I'll have to look into that. But for now, I will say good night. Hope you had fun. And again, you can go to titanichg.com and download this for yourself and explore about 50% of Titanic. So if anyone joined me, thanks for joining me, and